My name is Eleanor, and I am 70 years old. If you were to meet me today, you would see a woman who carries herself with quiet strength, who has wrinkles shaped by both laughter and sorrow, and who no longer feels the need to explain her presence to anyone. But if you had known me even a decade ago, you would have met a woman who felt small in her own life, someone who lived in the shadows of memory, regret, and silence. I have lived in this little house for 43 years. My husband, Richard, built most of it with his own hands, piecing together beams and walls with a kind of steady determination I always admired. He has been gone for almost 12 years now, and in that time the house has both protected me and imprisoned me. Its walls are filled with echoes, his voice, his footsteps, his laughter. For a long while, I tried to live only inside those echoes, as if doing so would keep him alive. The truth is, I had stopped living the day he passed. I cooked for one, cleaned without care, and sat in silence for hours. My children live far away, visiting when they could, but I told them I was fine, that I needed nothing. I wore old clothes, I shut the curtains often, and I avoided mirrors. My reflection frightened me, not because of the gray hair or the lines etched across my face, but because of the emptiness in my eyes. The turning point came one evening last spring. I had just taken a bath, something I rarely did anymore, and I walked to the bedroom without bothering to put anything on. I remember looking out the window, the cool air brushing against my skin. For a moment, I felt exposed, stripped of all the roles I had clung to: wife, mother, caretaker. I was simply Eleanor, bare and human. That moment startled me, but it also awakened something inside me. I realized that beneath the layers of loss, there was still a woman waiting to breathe again. I wasn't just an old widow surviving her days. I was still capable of feeling alive, of creating, of choosing something new. That night, sitting there with nothing to cover me, I whispered aloud to the empty room, "It's my house too, and I will not let it become a tomb." The next morning, I pulled an old easel from the attic. Painting had been my passion in my youth, something I abandoned when family life consumed me. My hands trembled as I laid out the brushes, but as soon as the first color touched the canvas, I felt myself returning. Hours passed without me noticing. The weight I had been carrying began to shift, slowly but surely. Over the weeks that followed, I filled the rooms with canvases, landscapes of the Vermont hills, portraits of my children from memory, even abstract shapes that captured emotions I had never dared to express. Each painting was like opening a locked window, letting air back into a suffocated house. Neighbors began to notice the change. One of them, a kind woman named Martha, stopped by with fresh bread and asked if I would show her what I was working on. For the first time in years, I welcomed someone inside. We spent an afternoon together, talking and laughing. That day, I felt the warmth of connection again. I also started taking walks in the evenings, something I had avoided since Richard's death. The streets I once saw as empty began to reveal small beauties. Children playing, the smell of cut grass, the way the sunset colored the sky. I began to notice that I wasn't alone in my solitude. Others too carried their stories, their grief, their hopes. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were nights when the silence grew heavy again, when I missed the comfort of Richard's voice so much that I cried into my pillow. There were days when I doubted whether it mattered that I tried to create a new life at my age. But every time doubt whispered in my ear, I reminded myself of that night, when I stood in my own room with nothing to hide behind, and realized that my life was still mine to shape. With time, I even reached out to my children differently. Instead of pretending to be fine, I shared my paintings with them, telling them honestly about my journey back to myself. To my surprise, they were not only supportive but inspired. My daughter said to me, "Mom, I always thought you lived only for us. I'm glad you're living for yourself now too." Those words became a gift I never expected. They freed me from the guilt of wanting more than survival. One of the most profound changes has been the way I see myself in the mirror now. I no longer flinch at the sight of my aging body. I see instead a woman who has lived deeply, who has carried sorrow but also reclaimed joy. The wrinkles are not shameful. They are the marks of endurance. The gray hair is not loss. It is silver proof of time survived. And the eyes? They are no longer empty. They hold a spark. I share this story because I know too many women who reach my age and feel invisible. We bury ourselves beneath duty, beneath grief, beneath the weight of years. But sometimes it takes being stripped of everything, titles, roles, even clothes, to see that we are still here, still whole, still worthy of discovery. At 70, I am painting again, laughing again, walking again, living again. My home no longer feels like a shrine to what I lost, but a canvas for what I am still creating. So if you ever find yourself standing in silence, believing your best days are gone, I hope you remember this. The moment you decide to step back into your own life, no matter your age, is the moment everything changes. And sometimes it begins in the quietest, most unexpected way, when you realize you don't need to hide anymore.